Have you ever had that moment where your smartphone's autocorrect changes your text to something completely different, but somehow more correct than what you meant to say? That small moment of technological override, that instance where a machine decides that it knows your intentions better than you do, might be more profound than we think, especially since it's very rarely duck. Now, this nuanced nudge reveals something fundamental about our ever-evolving sense and our relationship with artificial intelligence and truth itself. This seemingly trivial interaction points to something that the ancient Greeks actually understood pretty clearly about the nature of knowledge and reality. Now, imagine being chained in a cave since childhood, able to see nothing but a wall in front of you, and behind you, without being seen, there's this fire, casting shadows from objects passing between the flame itself and the wall. Now, these shadows are your reality. Everything you see, everything you ingest, is this reality. All you've ever known are the shadows on the wall. Now imagine someone breaks free, leaves the cave, and discovers the actual real world outside. They get blinded by the light. It's so bright outside. And when they return to tell others about the true reality, not a single person believes them. The shadows on the wall seem more real than any truth about the outside world. Now, this is Plato's allegory of the cave. And this week, there are 3 developments in the news that made it startlingly relevant to our modern relationship with artificial intelligence and truth. Now, the BBC wrote an article where they just published a troubling investigation that forces us to question whether that we are creating our own digital cave of shadows. They found that some of the most leading AI models, the very systems that we are increasingly relying on for information about our world, consistently produce responses containing significant factual errors. It's more than just a spelling mistake or subtle misinterpretation. These systems confidently declare dead politicians alive, imprisoned criminals free, and established medical facts, and that's the important one, as fiction. Each assertion made by these systems comes wrapped in the kind of unassailable, unshakable certainty that only a machine, uninhibited by understanding, could provide us. Now, the timing of this second development, the second piece that I found, makes this moment particularly fascinating. Now, just as the BBC reveals this crisis of AI reliability, OpenAI, on the other hand, announces that they are uncensoring ChatGPT under this banner they call Seek the Truth Together. Now, their initiative aims to reduce algorithmic bias, allowing their AI to present a lot more diverse perspectives, which in theory is a good thing, but this raises an intriguing question. If these systems already struggle with basic factual accuracy, what happens when we reduce their constraints? It's as if we're responding to the discovery that our cave's shadows are misleading by adding more shadows to the wall. Now, meanwhile, MIT has been obviously watching these developments quite carefully, and they launched what might be the most thoughtful response to these challenges. Their new course that they just released, The Ethics of Computing, attempts to bridge philosophy and artificial intelligence, acknowledging that a technical expertise alone might not be enough to navigate our new epistemological landscape. They're using classical philosophical frameworks to help future technologists to really understand the moral dimensions of their work. But even here, even this admirable effort still raises its own philosophical questions. How do you teach ethics to people creating systems that might fundamentally reshape our understanding of reality itself? This convergence of developments suggests that we might be entering what philosopher Nick Bostrom actually calls an information knowledge gap, where more data paradoxically leads to less wisdom. Our massive AI systems can process vast amounts of information. But processing isn't the same as comprehending, as really grasping. These systems can recognize patterns without grasping their meaning. Much like Plato's prisoners might recognize the regular patterns of shadows without really knowing what their source is. Now, let me suggest something that might seem a little provocative at first. We might actually right now be witnessing the most significant transformation in human understanding since the invention of writing itself. Now consider this parallel for a second. Just as writing externalized human memory, allowing us to store knowledge outside of our minds, AI is now externalizing something far more fundamental. Judgment. The ability to judge itself. But there's a crucial difference here that should give us a little bit of a pause for a second. Writing served mainly as a tool for human reflection, a mirror that showed us our very thoughts in front of us. Our AI systems, however, on the other hand, actively reshape the very reality that they're meant to reflect. So it seems like what we're creating, and this is where we need to be a little bit more thoughtful, and what we're creating is what we might call an epistemological hall of mirrors. Imagine walking into a room where every single surface is a mirror. It's beyond the Malkovich reference. Now, here, each reflection creates another reflection. Each image spawns countless others until the original object becomes completely impossible to identify. And I think this is kind of what's happening with truth in our AI systems. Each piece of information reflects and refracts through algorithmic processes, creating an endless series of increasingly convincing projections, each generation more authoritative, but potentially more divorced from the original truth. But, and this is crucial, I don't think we should see this as some kind of a doom prophecy here. Rather, it's more of an invitation for us to think more deeply about how we verify and how we understand truth in a digital age. Just as Plato's allegory wasn't really about shadows on the wall, but about the nature of knowledge and education, our current moment isn't just about AI accuracy. It's about how we maintain human wisdom while navigating these new waters of artificial intelligence. Now, I'm Michael Goenka. Thank you so much for listening. Join us next week as we explore whether this epistemological hall of mirrors might actually help us better understand the nature of both of truth itself. Because, after all, sometimes it takes a little bit of a distorted reflection to make us look more carefully at the original.